Well, the former GCIS head, Mzwanele Manyi, is accused of being an enabler by the first part of the state capture inquiry report. He joins us now via Zoom. Mr. Manyi, thank you so much for making the time. Your response or reaction to the contents of the part one of the State Capture Commission report, especially in relation to yourself.
Yeah, good morning, Desiree, to the viewers. No, I think what this commission has done, I think my case is the clearest case of a factional commission, a commission that had a predetermined outcome, because my case is actually the clearest. A very simple situation where the various heads of departments or various DGs that make their own decisions about where to spend, and then they bring that decision to GCIS to implement. When GCIS implements a decision of the departments, and all of a sudden, Zondo says, I enabled state capture. How have I enabled anything? Because GCIS is a central repository. Decisions get made elsewhere. GCIS simply implement, and then they say, I enabled. But in fact, it's just full of hate, that report, and full of innuendos, nothing based on fact. I challenge anyone, any analyst in this country to go through that report and find a shred of evidence that indicates that I cooperated with anything corrupt. There's no such a thing. Mine was a straight test. In fact, I'm one of the few people in that commission that went there with credible evidence. But purely because I belong in the wrong camp, purely because I'm associated with President Zuma, I just have to be lumped in and be characterized as someone that has done something wrong. I think that report is a lot of rubbish as far as I'm concerned. On my part, it's a shoddy piece of work. No evidence to link me to the things that they are talking about there, and in fact, there's contrary evidence as it were. So I'm sitting here. I'm actually annoyed that you have a commission headed by the second most senior judge in town, aspiring to be the number one judge in town, and yet to get this kind of shoddy work under his command. It's very disappointing.
The assertion that a big chunk of the GCIS budget, as soon as you started and under your tenure, went to TNA, is that not fact?
Let's put matters into perspective. Themba Maseko left GCIS around February 2011. The new age was only launched in 2010 December. So he had only 1 month. So first and foremost, to compare the tenure between Themba and myself is a very stupid comparison, because it's 1 month versus a couple of years. That's the first point. So the next issue is that whatever the amount that was gone to TNA, first and foremost, let's just clear this. There was nothing irregular about anything that went there. That's the first thing. TNA was in the database of National Treasury. It was not a blacklisted company or anything. So whatever was given to TNA, there was no corruption. It went within the proper channels. Can tick that box. And then the next question is, who decided how much must go there? It's not GCIS that decided. This notion that GCIS had a 600 million budget is a lot of nonsense. Even today, GCIS has never had that kind of money. GCIS never has that kind of budget. People that have budgets are various departments. There's no such a thing as a 600 million GCIS budget. There is no such a thing. There never was, there never is, there isn't as we speak. So to have 600 million reflected in that report as if GCIS had a 600 million budget is a lot of nonsense. There's no such a thing. I challenge Zondo and these people to produce evidence to that effect. There is no such a thing. It's just a pure fabrication. There's no such a thing.
Is there
the decision to say this money must go to Sowetan, this money must go to Sunday Times, is made by the various line departments. GCIS has got no authority to turn away whatever departments have said. So yeah, so it's just a smear campaign. This.
Mr. Manyi, is there even a single part of the report that for you comes across as credible?
I don't know. I was just interested in the areas that they were looking at. I just focused to just see how they're going to deal with my part. And as soon as I saw it's just a glaring shoddy work, I lost interest. That it means, therefore, even the complicated parts, even where other people are implicated, I can never trust that because my test case was this one. Now, if they can get such a straightforward thing wrong, that you can prove even today, if they can get such a thing wrong, then it means the rest of the report is a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
In fact, it almost vindicates President Zuma for not going there because it means that there was a predetermined outcome. It wouldn't matter what President Zuma would have said there. The outcome would have been what has been predetermined. That's exactly what has happened to me in this case. So it was a waste of time for me to go there with all the documents that I presented there, and then you end up with a report that they just make statements, these people. I mean, if, you know, in other cases, somewhere I've seen where they say, here's a WhatsApp communication between this one and that one, here is this, here is that, granted. But in my case, there is not a shred of evidence to back up their outlandish statements, simply because Maseko said he was not going to enable corruption, so they have to get an enabler. So my coming in, I now just become an automatic enabler and all of that. And by the way, even that statement by Themba Maseko, strictly speaking, he misled the commission in that as the CEO of GCIS, you actually don't have control over the budget. So to give an impression that because you're the CEO of GCIS, you can determine whether budget goes left or right, that on its own is misleading. So that notion that Themba stopped this thing is actually a misguided notion. He pretended as if he's got power he doesn't have. You do not have the power as a CEO of GCIS. You do not have the power to stop departments from going left or right in terms of their budget. So that whole thing is just a fabrication that is just meant to smear certain people like myself.
You're challenging them here, but are you going to take the legal route?
Look, I just have to be very honest with you here that having seen how courts operate in this country, I honestly do not have confidence in our justice system. But I'm talking to my lawyers to see what they can do about this. But having seen what has happened to President Zuma and all those that are associated with him, where if it's certain people, you know that a certain outcome is almost guaranteed and all of that. So I'm really not holding my breath, but I'm talking to my lawyers to advise whether it's worth taking my chances in this thing. But the bottom line is that the biggest challenge for me is that let them send the Hawks or the NPA. These are the people that work with evidence, that don't follow people, that follow evidence. And that's the reason why they've even visited me. It's because there's absolutely no evidence that links me to anything. It's just innuendo, a political, factional thing to castigate people that are not supporting the Ramaphosa regime. That's what this is about. All those that support Ramaphosa are characterized as clean and all of that. Gordon went there and so on and could not answer questions, but the report sanitizes him. Pumla Williams was there with the 6 million. I mean, this was evidence I produced there about Pumla Williams that went there and signed off irregularly, and all of that is a report to that effect. The report has cleansed her simply because they are on the right faction. So this report is a factional work that is meant to continue the work of castigating everybody that is associated with President Zuma. This is what this is about.
Of course, you're firing on both cylinders. On the one hand, it's your individual fight. On the other, you're the chairperson of the Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma Foundation, and there's need to defend your principle as well. How's the former president feeling about this report at this moment?
Well, just came in the afternoon, so we've not had a chance to meet and caucus the position with President Zuma. So I can't comment at this point, but I can only say right now that I think he'll probably feel vindicated, because here is Manyi with real evidence that shows what went down. But look what happened to Manyi as it was. So it means President Zuma did not stand any chance. As it were. This report here is nothing but a collation of what has been happening in the media space. This commission did not take the trouble to then look at the evidence presented and make a decision based on evidence. They simply just cleansed and gave credibility to the media reports that were there, that were based on all kinds of innuendos, as it were. So, yeah, President Zuma has not looked into this report as yet. We'll discuss it, I'm sure, over the weekend and see how we take matters forward.
I take it, I hear and I take it that he has not looked at the report, but the former president is mentioned almost more than 100 times in the report, and he has previously made legal requests for the commissioner, the chairperson of the commission, to step down. So he has gone to prison, although briefly, because of decisions made by the chairperson of the commission. So I imagine there must have been some sort of conversation as you anticipated the release of the report. Are you able to take us into those conversations?
No, there were no conversations at all. We just amazed at the lack of justice in this country, where a very simple thing, where President Zuma was very ready to come and give his version in the commission. And in fact, you can see that the justice system in this country did not want his version. It was the Kampepe judgment that made it very clear that the dignity of the Constitutional Court was more important than President Zuma tabling his version in that commission. This is why Kampepe and her crew decided to jail President Zuma. So there's really no justice in this country. This is what has happened. So when we sit and we talk, we say, well, we keep going through the motions, but our confidence in the justice system in this country is at an all-time low. On simple things, I mean, just like this one, all Judge Zondo had to do was just to move out for just a couple of days, get somebody else to chair the session, to allow His Excellency President Zuma to table his version. Even that was too much for him, purely because, I suppose it's because they know that if they give him a chance to air his view, he's going to disrupt the narrative. So it's better to do everything to frustrate him from going there so that they can make their own conclusions about what has happened. I mean, like right now, Maseko said, Zuma said this, Zuma said that. So whatever Maseko said becomes gospel, as it were, and it's just simply not true. So this report, as far as the areas that they have read so far are concerned, does not give one any sense of gratification that justice was done. This is just factional work to persecute those that do not support the Ramaphosa regime. That's all.
Before I let you go, Mr. Manyi, just a quick one. Just a week after we come out of the passing of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a big story comes out in South Africa, the National Key Point Parliament on fire. Do we know what the former president's thoughts are on this development? No, he's just shocked that such a thing can happen. He's really shocked, given the level of security that Parliament has. He's just shocked. He has not said a word. He's just in shock that he doesn't believe he cannot believe that such a thing has happened. So for now, President Zuma is just shocked to what the hell is going on in this country. I think really this talks to the poor intelligence that we have in this country. How can it be that an institution of democracy like Parliament can bend down like this, and the intelligence didn't know about this? Because if they knew, they would have told the police would have acted. So it just shows that in this country, we really were on free flow. It's an
Autopilot is better because there's some control. Here we're on free flow. Everything just goes as it was. So indeed, President Zuma is just shocked. He has not said one word. He's just shocked. That's all.
Mr. Manyi, thank you for your time this morning.
You're welcome.
Mzwanele Manyi there talking to about how the Zondo report, part 1, has implicated him, and of course mentioning Themba Maseko there. So we're clearly going to have to get Mr. Maseko in to respond to Mr. Manyi's assertions.